Hello, everybody. It's good to see you here. Yes, we are all here on stage now. Now, before we begin, how many of us here in this room are company representatives? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, not even half of the room. And the rest of you, you are from the research institutes, universities, yeah? Right. Thank you for being here in this room. So we'll be talking about investing in impact, building global-ready deep tech companies. I have with me the 4 panelists, and they are really friends. And I've known them for maybe for some of them, more than 10 years. Right. So, from the title alone, investing in impact, building global-ready deep tech companies. The topic can be divided into 3 sections, which is impact investing, deep tech companies, and global readiness, right? So we'll be starting with Dr. Raihana on the first component of the title, which is impact investing. Now, Dr. Raihana, she's my colleague. She studied chemistry and then did a PhD in pharmacology. She has an MBA in technology management and a registered technology transfer professional, right? She is also a certified HRDF trainer and a certified master performance coach. She is currently the Vice President 1, heading the Developmental Fund Management Department, where she is looking after 6 national funding programs, including National Technology Innovation Sandbox, which you've heard a lot of since morning, and Halal Technology Development Fund for some of you, especially those in biobase. You might be interested in what Halal Technology Development Fund is. And she's also in charge of 2 My STI funding, which is Dana Uji Beli and Dana Mudacha. We'll talk a little bit, I suppose, about the funds later. So before I ask you a question, Dr. Hana, maybe you want to introduce MTDC a bit, or maybe our CEO has already introduced in length what MTDC is.
Right.
Go ahead.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Thank you very much, Puan Maria, for the kind introduction. It's not always you get to be introduced by someone who was a mentor and someone who has learned a lot from working with her in MTDC. Right. So allow me to introduce a little bit about MTDC. Again, my CEO was in the previous session, so I won't talk too much about it. But basically what we do at MTDC is work with technology-based companies, local Malaysian companies, and helping them to grow from the very, very early stages all the way up to being well-established listed companies and things like that. So our involvement has always been from the beginning all the way to the end, and we work together with these companies to ensure that our local Malaysian technology companies can grow big and grow global. So I think that's all from me now to introduce MTDC.
Right. The CEO just now talked about funding deep tech with impact and scale. He talked about blended finance. Now, I've heard the word impact twice now by CEO just now, impact financing. And now our title is also investing in impact. What do we mean by that? What do we mean by investing in impact? Surely it's not just about making money. Surely it's more than just that. Can you explain a bit, Dr. Hana?
Sure, thanks, Puan Maria. So there's investing, right? And investing with impact. So investing on its own, definitely you're talking about how do you maximize your returns? How do you maximize whatever you get back from what you've put in the beginning, right? But investing for impact is just a little bit different. Well, obviously there's the component of getting the financial returns back, but investing with impact also means getting other returns, which may not be quite so tangible. So we're talking about returns in terms of social benefits, developmental benefits, and strategic benefits. And that's what we do very much at MTDC, because MTDC is an organization under MOSTI, which we are considered developmental organization. So everything we do when we invest in companies, it's always with the lens of looking at how we can really generate that impact and benefit, not only, of course, to MTDC as an organization, not just to MOSTI as our parent ministry, but also to the nation. So looking at things like strategic goals of the nation, looking at concerns of the masyarakat or the rakyat as well. So it's really about ensuring that whatever resources that we have, which may be limited, but we channel them to the right companies or the right projects or the right technologies, which will really then translate into long-term returns to everyone involved. So that's basically my definition of impact investing.
Thank you, Ratana. We'll revisit that in a bit. But let's go to the second part of the title, which is deep tech. What is deep tech? What is the difference between deep tech and shallow tech? But before I ask Dr. Iskandar questions, let us introduce him first. I've known you for a long time. In fact, one time I traveled to Korea with him, and when we were in Korea, it was for a robotic exhibition, and he appeared to be a face well known in Korea. The oppas know him, see? So he is well known as far as robotics is concerned in Korea. So this is a guy that you may want to talk to if you're talking about acquiring robotic solutions for your manufacturing processes. Right, now, Dr. Iskandar, of course, graduated with a PhD from UK in robotics. Of course, what else, right? He worked for an international electronics company in US, building robotics automation line. And he also once worked in a VC establishment, so he was also once a venture capitalist, right? Dabbling in global financial and technological market, right? So not only is he's now at that side of the table, but he used to be on this side of the table, right? So he came back to Malaysia in 2000, welcome back. He founded, he was one of the founding members to establish a new private university. And he served there for 10 years before then retiring and setting up his own company, which is doing robotics. Right. So he also one of the founding members of Malaysia Robotics and Automation Society, or what we call MyRAS. And he is serving the society now as a president. He is executive chairman of several robotics companies, and he is also actively building collaborations between Malaysia and other countries. I'm sure Korea is one of them. Yep. So he is also advisor to the government on the National Robotics Roadmap and some other roadmaps. So that's Dr. Iskandar Bahrain for you. So the question is, Dr. Iskandar, you're a tech-based company, you do robotics, but what is the difference between you and other technology-based companies? Why are we considering you a deep tech? And what is your value proposition being a deep tech companies as compared to other deep tech companies in Malaysia? And now you are representing vPro Groups, remember that? Maybe you want to introduce a bit about your company?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Maratini, for a very nice introduction. Maybe I'll introduce a bit about vPro. vPro, we are actually a robotics systems integrator company. We've been around for almost 30 years, actually. We serve basically the Southeast Asian market, actually. So they are mainly the large companies like Nestle and all that, you see. So when you say about deep tech means that you are able to grasp technology that is very much in the forefront of discovery and all that. Yeah. So the risk is very high. As you know, the capital cost, the human cost, and also the market cost is very challenging, very high. Yeah. So I would say very briefly the difference between deep tech and the low tech. Because coincidentally, I'm also involved in IEEE entrepreneurship. I'm representing the Southeast Asian region, the director for entrepreneurship for IEEE. And IEEE is one of the pioneer, the proponent of deep tech, actually. The word deep tech came about, I think, the last 5 years ago when I was in Singapore. We promoted the idea of deep tech for entrepreneurs. So when you talk about deep tech is really like a technology that has not been proven yet, actually, in the real world. But like quantum, for example, yeah, quantum computing. So, but the opportunity of return is very high. Those days we talk about AI, but now AI is already in the market. But if you talk about 10 years ago, AI is considered one of the deep tech, so-called technology at that time. But now it is in the rollout stage. So in terms of robotics, We know that there's things like NVIDIA, they are talking about deep tech, all those AI and the merger between software, algorithms, and also hardware. The end game of all this journey is going to be a robot. So I hope that, Vipro and myself will be around to see that vision. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Iskandar. Now, because you were once a venture capital investor
Yes,
yourself, right? So you also talked just now about how deep tech means higher risk, is
Yes.
something probably unexplored. So you don't have track records, and the banks, for
Yes.
example, will
Yes.
not know whether there's market for this product or not.
Yes.
So, but you yourself, I'm sure, at one time looked at deep tech as something that is highly potential despite the risk. You want to
Yes.
comment something about the investment in deep tech, high-risk projects?
Okay. When you talk about investing in deep tech, in high tech, I mean, there's a few, I think, guideline. Number one is that we look at, I'm looking as an investor, three things here. Who's the founder? The founder. And who's going to be as a funder? Okay, what are my exposure? And also, who's the user? So these three things is got to be very locked. If you are very clear of what you want to do, then the money will come. Typically, deep tech money doesn't come in our area, unfortunately. It's still in the places where these are philanthropies and all that. So the institutional investor would not go into deep tech at the moment. There are more philanthropies, people who believes in supporting new frontiers technology. So I hope one day, we will be able to have this community of deep tech. If not, it'll be just like another flavor of the day when we talk about deep tech. You see? So it's very dangerous that just because people talk about IR 4.0 at one time, people talk about IR 4.0. Now we talk about deep tech, everybody talk about deep tech. But is there real money there in deep tech? So I have seen one example when in Canada, they asked me, is there any deep tech company in Malaysia? So I searched around, it's not easy. The closest I got was Singapore when they started the quantum computing. And the starting price is very high, like 20 million US per lot, So, yeah.
Thank you for that. I mean, it probably is something still foreign considering the age of deep tech projects in Malaysia. But somebody's got to do it. And in MTTC, deep tech is not a mere slogan. This is where we are heading towards. Now, the gentleman sitting next to you, Dr. Iskandar, Mr. Maran Virumandi, you are the right person to ask right after this. Because, Mr. Maran Virumandi, have you heard of Doctor On Call? Right? So this is
vouchers coming up, right, for you
better.
guys to procure products and services.
So this is the guy behind Doctor On Call. You've been in our ecosystem for what, 4 or 5 years, right?
Yep, coming up to that.
Yep. So I'll read a bit about him. He is the co-founder of Doctor On Call. But I want you to talk a bit about your .com.my. DoctorOnCall.com.my is what I have here, but you have expanded. You have grown bigger than just .com.my. You talk a bit about that later. It's a leading telehealth and online pharmacy platform, and I think it would be justified to say that they are the first, certainly the first, probably the largest digital health platform in Malaysia.
Yes.
Probably more. You talk about that later when you introduce your company. So he holds a Bachelor of Commerce and Management from the University of Lincoln, New Zealand, worked as management consultant at Accenture and Deloitte, focusing on strategy, technology, and supply chain. So maybe you want to talk a bit about your company before we talk about the topic of today.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank you for a generous introduction. So we started off as a health tech player. The vision was to actually build health tech solutions to power up the ecosystem, right? Made up of clinics and hospitals and pharmacies as well as pharmaceutical companies. Unfortunately, at that point in time, back in 2015, the adoption wasn't too favorable, right? Post-COVID right now, everyone says, okay, no problem, telehealth and e-prescriptions and medication delivery. But, if you were to reverse back to 10 years ago, it wasn't quite accepted. And so what we decided to do was to come up with our own healthcare platform, which we named droncall.com.my, largely because we saw that telehealth would be the easiest product or service to be adopted by patients, and it proved to be the case. And since then, we've gone on to launch our online pharmacy, our health services booking, during COVID, of course, vaccination and various other services. And we keep coming out with a slew of healthcare services to products to make life a lot more accessible and more equitable, as well as affordable for our patients, for our providers, for our clinicians, and the various people in our market.
So, when do you become global? Because when we invest, as per the topic, you need to be global ready. So when do we ready a company to be global? Investment side, do we invest in global ready companies, or we invest first and then make them global ready? In your case, maybe you want to share a bit about your experience with them. When did we come in? When did you plan to become global? When did local readiness stop and global readiness start?
Right. So just to backtrack a little bit to the 97-99 economic crisis, that's when I graduated and spent a whole bunch of period jobless and as well as knocking on doors. But I was fortunate to get a job on an Asia Pacific scale. So I spent about 10 to 15 years of my life in Australia, Philippines, Indonesia, doing like various long-term engagements. Couple of years in Philippines, couple of years in Indonesia, Korea, Thailand, Singapore. And when I came back to Malaysia, I was almost global, right? By training and adoption, so I had a little bit of a global view of things. And when we started off with our health digital technologies, the company, the view was that Malaysian healthcare is great, it's affordable. We have about $2.5 billion worth of medical tourism coming into Malaysia, and it's fast growing. So it's only natural that we export our health tech services globally, right? So we spent the first couple of years building the products and services and testing the product market fit, whether people were willing to pay, whether people were willing to use it, what was the feedback like. And when all of that was lined up, we actually were ready to go global, but of course COVID happened and the borders shut down. But post-COVID, in 22, I decided to take a more, I suppose, a more thoughtful approach to going global. Of course, we were powered by MTDC's funding, so that helped. And so we decided to look in the market, and the market was, the thesis of going global was still valid, in the fact that from a pricing perspective, Malaysia does have one of the most affordable healthcare systems, right, in the region, right? So that case of people wanting to come to Malaysia for healthcare services, of course, because of a regulatory environment, the doctors and the pharmacies, as well as the various healthcare professionals, are actually maintained at a really good quality. So the services quality in Malaysia was also still really good. So if you have a good product in Malaysia, as well as a good price, but you can't actually practice healthcare in Indonesia or Singapore or globally, right? Because of their regulations and because of the physical limitations, you can't do a surgery or you can't consult a patient. It's only natural that using digital health was going to be the way to go about that, right? So when we then decided, say, to do a little bit of a market sizing. So when we looked at the market size in Singapore, did the product and pricing review, we realized all that was good, and we said, wait, wow, let's go. So I then procured as I mentioned to you earlier, I procured the droncall.com platform, because it's a little bit difficult for people from international to buy a service from a .com.my, right? So we procured the .com domain, we launched it, and then started marketing it to across the border to Singapore, and that business has grown from what was 2-3% of our market to now close to 20% of our market. So the adoption rate was great, but of course, a lot of it was due to the fact that we have a great product, we have a great ecosystem, great pricing, and so the market went up. Subsequent to that, we just kept on plugging in the way. We are right now in the midst of translating a lot of our services to Bahasa Indonesia, to Mandarin, to Arabic, because I think that it's only a and it's a good thing to actually unlock the capital, the human capital in Malaysia, and drive that business.
Thank you for that. Because I think it's good to know that our health care services are one of the best and also perhaps cheap as well. Competitive, not cheap.
Value for money, lah.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, it's good to hear that because I think it's very often that we bash up ourselves, that we think that we don't have this, we don't have that, whereas we have a lot of opportunities, success stories, and we have a lot of things to be proud of. Good for highlighting that. Now, Mr. Lim V. Hung, the one sitting there at the end, he is the CEO of Micron Concept Aerostructures in Remrat. You will talk about your company later, but what it is an SME in aerospace. You manufacture advanced aerostructures and interiors for global aviation market.
Yep, that's correct.
Why are you not producing advanced aerostructures and interiors for Malaysian aviation market? What about our aeroplane manufacturing companies in Malaysia? Do we have even? We don't, right? So the first day you started, your market is already global because we don't have aeroplane manufacturing company in Malaysia. So you've been CEO there since 2012, and you graduated from RMIT in business marketing,
Yep,
right?
that's right.
So the question is, that's what it is. You first started the company in aerospace, and Malaysia is not an aeroplane manufacturing company. So why is it that you decided to venture into that field? And I understand you've also received funding from MTDC in aerospace. I'm sure that is something that I can, Dr. Hana maybe can elaborate later. Why is it that we are investing in aerospace? But go ahead, introduce your company.
All right, thank you so much, Mario, and good morning to everyone. So yes, our company, Micron, is actually a manufacturing company that does components level to an assembly to structures, aerostructures, which is the exterior part of the aircraft, the wing section. If you go to the flight attendant seats or the cabin crew seats, actually being manufactured in Micron, and we supply it mainly to US and Europe market. So yes, when we first came in, I noticed that Malaysia does not have any like end user clients in the world. They only have two major monopolizing market, which is Airbus or Boeing in the whole market. So the reason why I ventured in during that time in 2012, I remember I attended a conference. They were talking about oil and gas. That they said the oil price will never go down. So I was like, oh, I think that's every business has a way to go down. So I started looking for something non-project basis, something more long-term, which then landed into the aerospace, because aerospace is the kind of business that is highly regulated industry. Everyone sits there, it's one aircraft, there's probably almost 200 lives on it. So every work they give you is a contract up to 5 to 10 to 20 years worth of work. So that's the reason why I embarked on that journey. And in that time, I knew if it's such a long duration of contracts, we could look into something to innovate and improve ourselves, which is robotics, which that time I did also raise a question back before COVID, saying that I think it's time in the future we need to look into robotics, since these products are already made for the next 20 years, it's going to be the same thing. So yeah, that's why I embarked the journey to aerospace.
I can't help but notice you would the word landed. You landed in the industry. You are certainly talking the lingo. So you take off and then you landed.
Yes.
Right. Wonderful. Now, because from day one, your market is global, right?
Yes,
because
that's
there's no buyer here in Malaysia. So when you go overseas, though, there are concerns about you're basically exposed. You are not in a familiar market, and your IP also is exposed. How do you make sure that you have a robust IP strategy to make sure that, because it's you against the world, so to speak? How do you plan that to protect your IP? I don't know what you. How do you basically safeguard your company from being copied by other players in the market?
Okay. Like as I mentioned, aerospace is a highly regulated industry. So when somebody manufactures a component, when Airbus or Boeing awards you a program, they tend not to move it to other players in the world because it actually helps disrupt the overall supply chain. As everyone know, just to share a bit of background, now one order aircraft that you order, it takes 11 years to arrive.
Wow.
So that's how much backlog they have. So from moving one supplier to another supplier, it's actually more expensive. It's more cost for the customers to
So
move.
they keep you for 10 years.
They just they keep you 10 years, at the same time they squeeze you for 10 years. So they said, well, you've been running the same thing for 10 years, there's definitely some improvement activities that you can do, what kind of improvement in your processes that you can drive down the cost and pass back the savings to the clients. So that's the reason what makes us protect ourselves if we got to keep innovating. Today maybe I make it for maybe $100, but in the next 2 years, I need to bring it down to 70, 60, 50. So by keep innovating, learning new technologies in the industry or the market, then to keep ourselves updated, that's where client would be very, very sticky on you. Yep.
It's hard to get in, but once you are in, you are in.
Yes, that's right.
So, Dr. Hannah, for this kind of investment, because again, it's hard to get in, it took them 11 years for a tender, for a contract to come through, right? We had to wait that long for what kind of impact then? If you're not getting the financial returns in 11 years, what kind of impact do you hope to get from investments such as this?
Okay. Well, these stories of like when you come in with investment and the returns take that long to gestate and to come to fruition, that's, I think, something that's very typical of what you'll see in deep tech companies. That's something that's inherent in terms of deep tech companies. So, again, companies or investors that invest in deep tech, typically we're very, very patient investors. It's patient capital. So while we understand that their returns may not come immediately, and indeed, this is not an isolated case. We have many companies that we've invested in maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago and still not generating the returns that we are expected, and that's fine. Because again, we're looking for other returns as well. Again, like I said, MTDC is a strategic investor. So we're also looking at how along the way, while we're waiting patiently for those returns, we're also looking at developing local capabilities, job creation, creating more local talent in the organizations. They are creating jobs. Our local graduates get to develop their talents within these companies and things like that. We're not only just investing in the company, we're also working on and investing in building an entire ecosystem of local technology capabilities. So that's exactly the type of returns we're seeing. And we're not just seeing that maybe 10 years down the road, we're seeing those kind of returns immediately. So while we don't get those financial returns immediately, we see so many other returns in terms of IP generation, capabilities and talent and things like that. So yeah, the returns are there. It's just, it depends on what the definition of returns are.
And aerospace is not the only industry that takes very long gestation period. Biotech, I'm sure some of you sitting in front of us right now, you are in biotech, bio-based companies, right? And we know how biotech businesses also usually will have long gestation period. Let's not even talk about pharmaceuticals and all that. The requirements, the same is the entry to the barrier entry is high, but once you are in, perhaps you can capture certain market. You seem to be wanting to contribute to the discussion, Mr. Maran. You were like,
well, okay, but perhaps an area that we struggled with when we went to the market investors was the fact that they are purely financial investors, right?
How
And
much do I get within certain years? That's all.
exactly. So the P&L, the ROI, the calculation of IRR dominates the entire conversation. So even for some of the investors who claim that they are impact investors, my view of things is that they lack a KPI framework to actually measure the actual impact. So when we talk about social impact, when we talk about, like for example, Dr. On Call, right? So we have 22 million people visiting us on a yearly basis. And I'm sure a lot of them gain information from reading the articles, watching the doctor's advice. But from a commercial perspective, we have much lesser value. So socio-economic and the health education literacy perspective, if we struggle to convey that information to the other investors, right? Also from the job opportunities that we give the clinicians and the pharmacies, and the larger ecosystem, it's also hard to justify to them. So perhaps what we can have a discussion from Doc as well as the rest of the team members is how do we measure that and how do we actually convey that to the rest of the investors so that they can value us, right, better, rather than rather than have a very limited set of investors just like MTDC who can invest, but the rest of them can't.
Yeah.
Can
So
I?
Yes,
so
go
thanks,
ahead.
yep.
Yeah, so I would like to chip in here. This is based on my real personal experience in deep tech investment 2 years ago. As I mentioned, I was involved in the IEEE entrepreneurship in deep tech. So I think one positioning that Malaysia has, that the investors in the US, especially Silicon Valley, that they saw is that we have this capacity to do a high mix, low volume manufacturing for deep tech companies in the valley. So if we can, maybe working together with MTDC, we create this ecosystem. We tell them, because most manufacturers, they tend to go to China or Taiwan, but gone are the days, you see. So if we can position that ourselves, that, okay, we are going to be partners to deep tech investment, because they already dump in like a lot of money in the startups in the US, in deep tech especially. So, but the challenge is to clear the valley of death is the prototyping. Doing the prototype is very difficult because involve high precisions and then chips. Chips, for example, we have semiconductor, so we can do chips, small batches of chips, high end, low volume. We also have medical manufacturing as well. So high precision manufacturing, can make CNC machines very high end. We have aerospace. So I think the ecosystem is there. It's just that I just don't have the stamina to talk to everybody lah. But if we are serious, I think we can sell ourselves, saying we flash up saying that, because globally now people are looking at ASEAN as the next growth market actually in deep tech. But what is it? Human capital. Where is our human capital? Where is our facilities? The cost of doing business, not that. So if we can package it all together, the deep tech money will come. Believe me, because maybe we don't have the necessary talent yet, but these people are willing to migrate and set up, the offices here as well. So this was another idea that we can think of lah.
This requires coordinated effort, like you mentioned in the
Coordination, yeah.
beginning. Investing in deep tech should not be just rhetorics. Just because other people are talking about it, it's nice to say. So we are investing in deep tech, and then that's it. While the flavor is the flavor is still current, that's what we do. But we've got to have a real, pathway plan, ecosystem. Everybody is involved. If you talk about talents, then you have different sectors in the country will have to be working on the talent. You have investor, you have the talent, you have the ecosystem must be there. So it's good that this must be discussed. This must be planned, and then it must be, like you said, more than just talk, right?
Yeah.
So it's good that we are discussing that today.
And the money is there actually. Global money is there.
Yeah. If the money in the country is not enough, there's always the global money.
Global money is there.
But you've got to be ready for it because, again, the investment is as
The
such.
drive must be there.
Yes, you've got to have the stamina to keep up with it. So there you go. So we've got to all work together towards making this happen, right? Now let's talk about robotics a bit. Okay, so Malaysia, is it known for its robots? Or when we talk about robots, we think of Japan, we think of Korea, we think of German robots. But I've been talking with some robotics company as well. So our robots, Malaysian-made robots, Malaysian R&D robots are actually used by Japanese companies. So here we are thinking that Japanese products are better than ours, robots are better than ours, and there they are buying ours. So how do we address this issue? I think it's about our pride in our product, our faith in our own invention. We are doing, actually, we do have some good talents, the right brains to develop some kind of products, but we don't trust in our own products, I think. So maybe you want to comment on that a bit.
Yes, I think it's more of the better use cases lah. I mean, because our local company, let's take for example defense lah, because I'm a defense, they somehow there is a big barrier. It's a mindset issue. To me, it's still a mindset issue because they only want to procure things already ready-made and all that. So agriculture is another thing. We talk a lot about agriculture, but the adoption, the translation also is very challenging. Not there. Healthcare is also another thing. So I think that's why you see we have good robot companies, I can say, but they tend to serve outside Malaysia lah, unfortunately. Why? Maybe our locals are not opening up opportunities for them because there's many factors. Yeah. So the government is trying to do their part. We talk about my STI and all that, but I think that's not good enough. You still have to create something. So I think MTDC's role here plays a pivotal role, I think, because you can be the bridge facilitator actually in terms of these startups and the adoptions and all that. But I can show you especially in Penang, there's a lot of good robot companies, but they do things quietly and they sell, is it? Yeah.
Right, because you brought up the subject of my STI. Well, for those of you sitting in front of us who may not have heard of my STI yet, my STI is a new initiative by the government to encourage the usage of locally researched products and to make the government as the first adopter of these researched products. So if you have completed your research, it has reached TRL 9, and you are ready to manufacture, ready to supply, so go register mysci.gov.my, have your product registered with mysci.gov.my, so you'll be listed in the database inventory and you will be prioritized when governments make procurements. It has been imposed on each ministry a 5% KPI that they must prioritize local R&D. From the three gentlemen on stage, Dr. Iskandar is the only company that has actually registered with MySCI. The two, I'm sure they are filling up the forms now to get registered, and I hope you will too. Okay, again, it's mysci.gov.my, and MTDC has been appointed as the technology negotiator for the program. So if you're listed in the inventory, then we will also help market your product to the governments. All right, so go register. Now, while waiting just now outside, we talked about how difficult it is, this journey that you've chosen. You probably life would probably be easier for you. Your expertise is in oil and gas, marketing, go be a chief marketing officer somewhere, and each one of you have your own strength and expertise in doing something easier. But instead, you chose this path, which is, first, it's either you are opening up just a company, a lifestyle company. Second, technology-based companies. And now venturing into global deep tech businesses. Not the easiest path to choose. Why do it? Why are you doing this? Why are you why are you torturing yourself doing something difficult? And here we are investing in your companies. But again, on your side, let's talk about why you are doing what you are doing.
Well, honestly, the reason why I started this aerospace journey because I wanted something more stability for the future, and also because I wanted Malaysia nation to grow in terms of because aerospace was not known back 10 years ago. I mean, it's very few companies that were in. There's probably like CTRM, Spirit that's just bought over by CTRM, and maybe Bukit Kayu Hitam that's only BCM, Boeing Composite Malaysia. So when I embarked this journey, I wanted to make sure that the Malaysian also upscale ourselves in terms of the technology, bring more value to the nation itself. So that's why I enjoy this journey, actually bringing, I can say that very proud to bring contracts from foreign countries back here, sign a 20 years agreement with them, seeing the local talents of the engineer upscaling yourself. This brings really, really pride and joy for this. That's the reason why I did it.
As Rakyat Malaysia, thank you.
Welcome.
What about you, sir?
Well, again, perhaps due to my training as an accountant, I decided to take a more market approach. So at that point in time, when we started off, of course, the flavor was more of the marketplaces like the Grab, the Shopee, the Lazadas. And there are many Malaysian companies like Cowteam, Service Hero. You guys probably remember some of the names like Recommend and Fave. And so they were growing very rapidly. They were growing they were, hogging the limelight in terms of technology, innovation, adoption, and popularity. We looked at the US and we saw that in US, in China, of course, even in India, the market for online healthcare players was actually growing really rapidly. We were fortunate that Magic at that point in time had a program at Stanford, brought us over there. We also took part in a program with Alibaba. I flew across to India, Alibaba obviously in China, and we saw players there. We jumped over across to India and saw how the players were doing that. And we saw that it was actually a workable model. And it really delivers a lot of value, and there is huge opportunities, both commercially. So we decided to take that approach. What we perhaps didn't quite plan for, and you can never plan for this being the pioneer, was that, again, in US, China, as well as India, the market turned perhaps against from a financial standpoint. So then the gestation period, instead of becoming 3 years or 5 years, now has become a 10-year journey, right? And the market still is, of course, Haji was mentioning earlier, Grab is still not profitable. So, but you can't make that assumption on day one. I'm sure Anthony and the team were a bunch of really smart guys from Harvard, and they didn't, in their financial forecast, they didn't forecast that it was not going to be the case. So to be a pioneer, you can rely on all the Excel spreadsheets and all the tech and all the development, but you don't have the crystal ball to predict that it's going to be an arduous journey. And I think what it requires, just like running a marathon, is at the 21st kilometer or the 30th kilometer, when you want to throw in the towel, you do have parties around the ecosystem to, throw the 100 plus across and give the towel. So MTDC, we had good investors like Samsung. We have a good bunch of advisors who kept on helping us work through. And now we are on to the next innovation that we have. So it is going to be a challenge. I think there's no illusions about the fact that it's difficult. It's just that it's difficult to predict also. So but the element of stamina, faith in God. Yeah, you see me waking up 5 a.m. to pray. It made me a lot more religious these days, right? So that has really helped us go through that journey.
Thank you for sharing that. My question for you is slightly different. Why are you an investee, no more an investor? You could have just counted profits today instead of, running the show. Yeah, you.
Why I'm still an investor as opposed to investor? I think I enjoy building companies, actually. Just to give you a real example, what the journey is that, when I started the startup company, when you see people around you grow, benefit. So I have now people around me running the operations, So when you run your operations, you got to always have this discipline that value to your shareholders is very important, So as a startup, easily that you always think of yourself, you don't think of your shareholder, the people who put money in you, who put trust in you. So I think that motivation to me is very important. So I managed to build together a team together that they are doing it now. And also the day-to-day, we talk about profit after tax, how do you maintain our PAT until we really achieve our goal. So so when you see a company growing, made in Malaysia especially, that is my satisfaction. If you go to being an investor, I do still connect to mainly Singapore lah. Okay, Singapore they're looking for deal flow je. To them it's all about deal flow. So I don't think they have the ecosystem as what we have in Malaysia. Yeah, because our price point is still very competitive. Yeah. So Singapore, so apart, we only compete with Singapore. I don't see Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, we still ahead actually. Vietnam, I'm happy to say that we are also competitive now. Yeah, we used to be behind them, but now in robotics and AI, I think we're okay. So that motivates me because growing is not through money actually. Growing is through people. That's it.
That's what MTDC is looking for as well. It's not just about financial returns, but also the impact, the overall impact. Now we have only 1 minute left for one question for Dr. Hannah. So we are invested in all these 3 companies. How do you see successful exit would look like?
Well, exits, obviously the typical definition of exit, if you're talking about investing, is to make money.
The impact, let's talk about the impact.
But if we're talking about impact, like I said, it's really seeing that the companies that we invest in, no matter whatever challenges they have or whatever issues that they may have in bringing something to the market, they actually make impact on whatever ecosystem they're trying to influence. So again, financial is one thing, but making those impacts in terms of contributing to job creation, IP development, things like that, or even in this case today, perhaps the gentlemen over here are inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs and innovators in the audience, right? It's a long journey. Deep tech is always very, very much a long journey, a challenging journey, as the gentlemen up here have already emphasized as well. But again, it's immensely rewarding because these are the kind of companies, the kind of solutions that really can make an impact and benefit to Malaysia as a nation, the people as well, and things like that. So it's a worthwhile investment and one that we will see returns if we all come together as an ecosystem and work together, inshallah.
Thank you, Dr. Hannah, for that. Thank you, MTDC, for building these companies. And they, the company, I thank you for building the country. And I also would like to thank the audience for listening throughout the discussion. And let's do this together. Let's build the country together through our technologies and investments from MTDC. Let's do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again to our moderator, Technologies Marianti Othman, again with our amazing panelists for a very powerful session right there. And again, your insights have shown us that deep tech is not just about advanced technologies, but about vision, courage, and building the right ecosystem to nurture globally competitive companies as well. And of course, again, we would like to thank you. We do have our token of appreciation for our amazing moderator and panelists. Again, thank you, Technologies Maria Tini Othman, Dr. Wanroy Hana, Dr. Ishkanda, Mr. Maran Viramandi, and of course, Mr. Lim V. Hong. We're going to take a very quick photo session. Let's have a big smile. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, let's give our moderator and amazing panelists a huge round of applause. Can we have a thumbs up as well? Thank you. Terima kasih diucapkan.